The summer has ended, it's media day, and the more things change, the more things stay the same. We haven't changed, Paul Jones alongside Sherman Hamilton, but Sherm, there have been a lot of changes with this team. New coach, new players, and hopefully new attitude.
Well, that's the goal. I mean, you think about all the changes coming into this season, primarily the loss of Fred VanVleet, then the idea of a new head coach coming in, and now the expectations surrounding some additions as well as the content that was already here. It's going to be an interesting challenge for this team to kind of put it all together and figure out the best way to navigate it. But one thing we know is that they're going to work hard. They're going to continue to build. They're going to find a way to make this group as successful as they can be. And to me, going into a season, that's the attitude you have to have.
Right,
and this group definitely showed.
Let's hear from the team president and vice chairman, Masai Ujiri.
Going into the season, you have some pretty key players that are heading into contract years or free agency potentially. And how are you confident that some of the outside issues won't affect how your team played on the floor the way it seemed to last year?
You talk about culture. I think there are new opportunities for new players for the players on the team now with a new coach. I think the approach is going to be just different with our team. I think those players will approach it differently. I think in terms of contract, we've always, I think, taken care of our players here, and we're going to see how this is going to start and play out. We have time to discuss with them or to take whatever direction we have to take with this team, but we've made it clear that we want to compete, we want to play a certain way, we want to be selfless on this team, and that's what we're going to do.
I've got to ask you about Lillard. To what degree were you interested? How close do you feel like something was, and how much do you think the Lillard and Holiday trades shake up the dynamic in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, sometimes these things are sensationalized in a way that, to the public, sometimes it doesn't gets people a little bit too anxious, and we understand that we're always going to put ourselves in in the right place to have opportunity.
During the trade deadline last year, you said you could only take deals that were on the table, and the offseason was a better time to sort of make evaluations about the long-term health of the team, which sort of insinuates that the future was unsettled, let's say. After you have a new coach, you've re-signed Jakob Poeltl, Fred VanVleet is elsewhere, and Gary Trent took his player option. Does the future feel settled, and is this the team that you want to take into the next season?
Yes, this is the team now that we want to take into the next season. Did we look at other opportunities? Yes, we did. Did we look at maybe even going younger? Yes, we did. But sometimes those opportunities are there, and sometimes they're not there. You can't force them. It takes two to do deals, and you move on when those deals are not there. The most important thing for us is we continue to grow our team and grow our players and build their confidence and make the environment where they play very conducive for them at least to succeed and to play better. And hopefully we can do that. I know everybody's looking for trades. I know everybody's looking for moves. Trust me, when the right ones come and the right opportunities come, maybe we will take those opportunities.
Sherm, one of the things that Masai Ujiri talked about, he talked about it at the end of last year, was changing the culture and ridding the Raptors of selfishness. It's a big theme this year.
Well, it is, and you think about how difficult that can be to uproot once it's already been embedded in the locker room, wherever it's happening. And Masai was vocal about it last year in terms of speaking out and calling it out. But now he gets a fresh start. with a bit of a different feel to this team, and the ability to send a message early to say, that's not going to happen. And if it happens, we're going to deal with it right away. And I think that's the kind of leadership you want. Selfishness can really destroy a season for a team, and Masai Ujiri wants none of that. And then he talked about the culture for this team. And when you try to extract selfishness out of it, now you can develop a solid, stable culture, and a one that has the ability to continue to grow throughout the course of the season. And we all know this. Masai talks about culture. He's talked about the culture of this team for a long time. And ultimately, it leads to his conversations about bringing a championship back to Toronto because of that same culture. We saw it play out in 2019. Who knows what he's able to do with this team?
Sherm, he says it all the time. We've won, and we're going to win again. And that's what the goal is in Toronto. And there's not necessarily a timetable, but it is about winning. The guy entrusted with taking the wheel is the new head coach. Let's hear from him. Here's Darko Rajaković.
I was hoping you could speak a bit to your philosophy and how you use the bench, how you want to use the bench, because the last couple of years here, I think last year 3 of the starters were the top 5 minutes eaters in the league. Is that something you would be comfortable with? Do you like to have a 5-man bench unit? Like, how big would you like the rotation to be? Just if you could speak a little bit to that depth stuff.
Definitely, I like using more players. I like using 5 players of the bench. Certain nights, 4. But I like definitely more guys in rotation. I believe that NBA season, 82 games, is a long season, and we gotta be smart how much load we're putting on our bodies, on our players for a long run. And we also want to develop our full roster and to feel everybody coming off the bench that they can contribute night in, night out.
When looking at the coaching staff that you've brought along, there's a lot of significant development experience. I was just wondering how much communication there was in the hiring process about that being a priority. Internal development has been a huge success overall under Masai, but maybe that's tapered off a little bit the last few years.
For me, that was extremely important, and through the hiring process of coaching staff, I had the great support from front office, and Bob and Masai, Dan and Teresa. We were all part of that. For me, it was very, very important to bring coaches that can relate to players, that have a strong passion to help those guys. I believe I talked about this before, but for me, player development is the most important thing. If player improves, now you can put strategies in place, and that's going to give you results. You know, that's how I operate. That's how I see it. And for me, player development is all 18 guys on our roster. It's not just like young guys. So it's for everybody.
How much do you feel this is a new era for the Raptors, and how much maybe Masai or Bobby communicated this to you? This is a new era, the blank canvas.
It is a new era, new coach, exciting team, new season. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited about the opportunity that's ahead of me, that's ahead of our roster. I have a great communication and great relationship with Bobby and Masai and everybody in the front office. And this is going to be a process that's going to take all of us to work together to get us to the next level.
And Sherm, you heard Darko talk about some really interesting things and his vision for the game and the way he wants the Raptors to play. Something that struck me was positions 1 to 4. 1 through 4 will be interchangeable. So, you know, it's that new philosophy that move the ball, go away from ISO, and that takes time, Sherm. It takes time to develop that because there's a certain amount of chemistry involved too.
Well, yeah, and what we've seen with this team defensively, we've seen switching 1 through 5 on this team at times. So offensively implementing that structure really allows multiple people to make decisions and be playmakers. And I think allowing players to have that opportunity, that responsibility, is really going to allow you to see what you can get from them in different situations. So these players have to take advantage of this, and they're going to find out how to best operate offensively based on who can handle the ball in certain situations. The other thing he talked about was get off the ball.
Yes.
You get that ball, you got a couple seconds, make a decision.
I think 0.5, right?
Make a decision, get the ball out of your hands, keep it moving. And to me, when you play that style of basketball, there's a flow to the offense. It doesn't get sticky. And as we know, a team that has struggled to shoot the ball in the past, when you move the ball, you get that defensive shift, you create different opportunities. However, they're still going to have to address the shooter.
Well, it's going to be something also, Sherm, that's going to take time. And Darko also talked a little bit about his defense, and he said it's all about protecting the paint.
Right. And you have Jakob Poeltl.
Right.
And that's a great thing, and I think Precious can do a good job in terms of that back line of defense. But also, you've got to ask certain players to take another step defensively.
Right.
OG's a great individual defensive player, an all-defense team last year. But you're going to have to ask Pascal to step up defensively. Scottie's going to have to take another step defensively. And then when you get it to that point, if you have 5 guys on the floor that can hold their own defensively, with your last line of defense protecting the rim, I think that's what Darko's looking for. And you just got to hold people accountable.
You mentioned 2 guys. Let's hear from them. Very important in the fortunes this year for the Toronto Raptors, Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes.
Also, Masai spoke about trying to get rid of selfishness, and he said part of that was having conversations with all the players. I'm sure that you're probably the first player he spoke to about that. From your perspective, how did that conversation go in terms of having more accountability on the team and, again, changing the culture?
I mean, I think for me, I'll speak for me personally. Like, I've never been a selfish player in my life. Always played the game the right way. And you know, that's from the first time I started playing basketball, you know, like I've always been a team player. All the things that I do on the basketball court, you know, it's about team. And I've always done that like my whole career.
Lots changed, obviously, going into this year. New coach, no Fred, new direction probably in the way you guys kind of go at the game. Does any of that change the way you think about your future with this team, knowing that you go into this year as a potential free agent after this season?
I mean, again, for me, like I'm under contract, right? Like I'm a Raptors player. That's literally what I'm focused on. I'm focused on the present, and that's, to me, that's all I can really care about right now. In terms of the way we play, like I'm a basketball player. I'm a purist, I think, as far as basketball goes, and I've always played basketball for the right reason, which is to win, and continue to try to be the best that I can be as a player. Like that's always been my main things as a player, and I think I really don't care what the system is. Like if you're a good player and you know how to play the game, like you find a way. I believe that I'm that type of person, and on the floor, like I don't care what you're trying to do. Like the ball finds the best players all the time. Like, and to me, like the game is just gonna go into like, you know, finding, you know, the guys that make the difference. You know, so I think that like it doesn't really matter. Like I think I'm a player that adapts to anything, and I play the right way. So I think that always like wins in anything that you do, and I think I will adapt well.
I'm wondering if you sort of have any personal goals that you were looking at developing throughout the offseason. Do you have any sort of goals that you want to try and reach this season? And how do you feel like your offseason went from a training standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think you always have to have personal goals as a player, and not even as a player, as a person. Like I think you always want to continue to evolve, and I think that. Every year I always try to do that. I always trying to get better. I always trying to evolve, do things differently. I go back and watch the season. I like a lot of the things that I did, and I also, you know, there's some things that I need to get better on, you know, and that goes with every player. So I try to evaluate that, see how I can help the team get better, see how I can, you know, like, if I can do anything to elevate some other players or whatever the case that might be that I need to do as a player to make that happen. That's what I try to focus on every single year, and I always have goals. But I mean, I think my main goal is to win. I want to win more games than we did last year. Like that's the main thing. But yeah, like as far as just like personal goals, I just try to keep it on my notebook for now. But the summer was awesome. Love traveling. You know, I think for me, just being in different environments, working out in different places. Love going to Austria. Shout out Red Bull always. It was great. It's fun, and just getting yourself in different environments and just continue to be with my family, my friends, and continue to get better. Like I want to continue to enjoy it. Like like this. This is, I think like it gets so like super like sometimes stressful because all of the stuff that's happening. But like I'm actually living my dream. Like it's pretty crazy, and I'm excited about that, and I want to enjoy that every single day. And traveling is part of that, and also the off season, just continue to get better, enjoying the process of continuing to get better.
Darko has mentioned a couple times, and just this morning, about how he sees you having a bigger role on the ball, with the ball in your hands, kind of navigating different situations on the floor. And how does that make you feel? And what have you done in the summer to kind of live up to what's probably sounds like some pretty big responsibilities?
Yeah, it makes me feel good, just being able to have the ball in my hands, being able to make more, being able to make more decisions with the ball. I feel like I'm really good with the ball in my hands, making great decisions, whether if I need a pass or be able to score. I feel like I'm really good at that. So the summer, I've just been working all around my game, just finding spots, working on my game, getting to the mid-range, getting to the basket with different moves, I'm confident in my game. That's really what it's about, just working on your game, just building your confidence. So when you go out there in the season, you could just go out there and dominate. I feel like that's my mindset, to go out every game and be able to dominate and just try to win games.
Scottie, I know you just touched a little bit on what you did in the summer, but was there anything you did differently this offseason compared to last, or anything you learned from last season that made you do something differently this offseason, or was it kind of an extension of what you usually do in summers?
I think one thing I probably worked on more this summer is just try to do more running. I feel like conditioning-wise, I did more running. That's probably the main difference I did, more just a lot of full court running, off the floor, just trying to go outside, running after workouts. Like, it was just more running.
Do you feel physically a big difference right now going into the season compared to how you felt a year ago?
I feel really good, Put on some more muscle, gained about like 9 pounds. So, first time I've been like 240. So my body feels good. Everything feels great. I'm just ready to play.
Masai talked about selfishness within the team last season. When you look at, kind of playing with that kind of vibe around the team last season, how did that impact you?
I would say it's an energy drainer, Sometimes out there it feels like it's every man for themselves, but that's what we just really got to change, I feel like Darko's doing a good job inserting that to our offense, just being able to play more together, and it just helps everybody just be able to have energy out there on the floor, wanting to play for each other, making those sacrifices. It makes you feel more comfortable sacrificing for one another. Once you're moving the ball, playing with energy, it helps our team. Moral, making us happy. Knowing that you don't got to worry about anything else. And you could just play your game, and you know that the ball's going to come to you, and you're going to be able to play your game.
With the talk of the ball being in your hands more, do you feel a sense of responsibility in being able to set the tone for how you guys want to play this season?
Of course, me having the ball in my hands, I love passing the ball. I'm a playmaker as well. So, I like getting guys involved into the game. That's what I do. That's how we're gonna play, and we got guys on the team that want to play that way as well. So that's what it's about. Everybody just trying to make that sacrifice.
Two of the guys that we heard from earlier are going to be big in what culture and selfishness or lack of selfishness changes that are going to take place with this team, Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes. And those guys have to embrace it as leaders. And Sherm, let's start with Pascal. Last year he talked about goals. This year there's been a lot of stuff swirling around him, a lot of conjecture and rumors. And I know you're big on controlling the controllables. And it sure seemed like Pascal was saying, well, here are the things that I can control, and this is what I've been about up to this point.
Yeah, the mind can get cluttered when you have all the chatter you hear, social media, people talking about it around, the Raptors and Pascal's involvement and what may happen. you've really got to control what's happening between the
Yes.
players. And I think Pascal has taken a great approach. He's traveling, he's moving around, he's experiencing life. And sometimes that can impact your passion, but for Pascal, it seems like he's still passionate about basketball. He's dedicated to the game and being the best player he can, but expanding his mind to not get it cluttered up with everything that's happening. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When you can find that peaceful space in the tornado, and you have that silence and that ability to understand who you are and what your objectives are moving forward. So it's good to see Pascal seem like he's in that place where he's not being bothered by all that. And at the end of the day, as you mentioned, leadership, Pascal's going to have to take that.
Definitely.
He's one of those guys that's been around the longest. He's required to do so much on the floor. So that means that offensively, defensively, locker room, on the road, wherever it is, his leadership is going to be of high priority for this team.
All right, you talked about expanding Sherm, a guy that people will be looking for to expand his game is Scottie Barnes. He talked a lot about working on his game, particularly the conditioning, because in the event that he's got to log lots of minutes, he wants to be ready to go late in games.
Yeah.
He also talked about getting a little bit stronger too and putting on weight.
Yeah, not only late in games, late in the season as
Yes.
well. And when you think about some of the elite players in this league, guys like Steph Curry, who has an unlimited motor.
When it's money time,
he's there. He's going up while everybody's falling back. And
Yeah.
that, to me, is great recognition by the young man to understand while he's young, you've got to have the highest conditioning level out there. And as we heard Darko talk about, the responsibilities for Scottie are going to grow with the ball in his hands. Fatigue impacts the mind first, then the body follows. And if Scottie's going to have the ball in his hands, late game situations, you don't want fatigue to become a part of his decision-making process. So it's good to see him understand if he can physically keep that motor going, then mentally he's going to be in great positions in late game situations.
the old adage, fatigue makes cowards of us all, although we're not tired and we're certainly not afraid. We will be back with part 2 on our next episode. That's it for part 1 of Raptors Media Day. For Sherm and many talented people on the other side that you don't see, that's it for today. We'll see you in part 2 on our next episode.